Sims 4 Create a Sim, and obviously welcome back to the D&D series. So basically this series is me taking my D&D characters that I have made and came up with and trying to recreate them in Sims. This is like the 7th character. If you have not watched the previous ones, there is a link in the description below so that you can go catch those previous ones as well. Also, there is a link at the end of the video if you also think that maybe you're behind, or you know you're behind and you actually need to click on the playlist, so you can wait to the end of the video and also click on it there. Plus, it's not really an order to these, so if you wanted to wait to the end of the video to catch the ones you wanted to miss too, that's obviously an option. But anyway, welcome back. And welcome to the creation of Eifie. Eifie, a Sunchild. So she is actually a tabaxi. You should actually be seeing a drawing of her by now, which is my drawing that I created. And there might be some obvious connections to actually her inspiration, because the fact that I am doing a tabaxi and I actually have a split in her tail. I haven't fully decided story-wise for D&D how she gets that split in her tail, but my inspiration for this is Espion. I was doing a group of D&D characters to try to get used to like some of the rules and some of the things in D&D, and using like some inspiration from something else to try to create these characters. With these characters, I purposely tried to make sure that they were all different classes and different races so that I could sort of play around a bit. Now, I'm not gonna lie, there are some other characters on down the road that I do take inspiration from things. So it's not like they're just, I stopped taking inspiration from stuff, but in trying to turn it into a D&D character. Honestly, one of my favorite ones actually still is based off of Pokemon, but it's not one of the evolutions. We'll get to him later, but not all of my characters are inspiration. Some are just right out of my head. Some of them I use inspiration because I thought that that character could be really fun as a D&D version. So anyway, with Eifie here, she is a tabaxi, so obviously I try to give her at least a few features to give her that cat-like appearance. She does have a tail and ears. Eifie is supposed to be white, and I don't know if you could tell in the drawing or not, since they're like just literally drawings, like line drawings or whatever you want to call them. They have not been colored in. There is some shading on them every once in a while, but they're not really done to show like the different colors and stuff. But she does have markings on her skin. So, well, fur, technically, she is a tabaxi. So with her, I was going to make her a solid white tabaxi, like she comes from a group of tabaxi that most of them tend to be solid white in color, or at least mostly lighter colors, so like the lighter yellows and the tans and things like that, creams, whatever you want to go with, tends to be those fur colors. They don't tend to have those really bright, vibrant, dark fur colors, but because I actually have her becoming a warlock, so she is a archfey warlock, and after she gets her warlock connection and abilities and stuff, she actually gets these like purple markings on her fur to give a little nod to Espion there. And that's why I give her some tattoos that have like some of these different like tints of purple. Obviously with these tattoos and how some of them are made by different custom content creators and things like that, I'm not going to get the exact shade purple for all of them, but I wanted them to still look nice and still get the effect across that, you know, there's some different colors going on with her skin in Sims world, which is because where she's connected to this archfey being. Her necklace also is supposed to be one of the big connections to her her patron. Patron? Yeah. I keep mixing up the words with Patreon, and my boyfriend gets very... I wouldn't say annoyed, but he corrects me every single time. Patron. And I did want the necklace to actually be red. Again, it's sort of a nod back to Espion. There's like little nods back to them, but not like super strong, like you would look at that and automatically know Espion, unless I was to preemptively say like, hey, this is based off of a Pokemon, in particular a Pokemon that I really like, you might could get Espion after that. But once you know there's Espeon's connected, there's a few things that you could probably tell were meant to be her, like the split in the tail, the little red nod with like the little red circle and stuff. In Sims, I couldn't give her a necklace that had that look to it that I wanted and have the circle part of it, because she has like this choker piece, and I do have a choker piece in Sims that looks very similar to that, but it's just the choker piece. It's like a bunch of series of rings. I don't remember if I tried it on her, actually. I might have at least tried it on her. But then there's also a piece that hangs down, which is where the little gemstone is, the red gemstone. I couldn't find a piece of CC that I had or anything in the game naturally that fit close to that. I had one thing that was similarly close because it did have a choker piece, and I had a hanging down piece, and the choker piece was at least decently thick, and so I did ultimately go with that, but it doesn't have the red, which makes me sort of sad. But yeah. But the reason why she is very pale in Sims form is because of the whole fact that she is supposed to technically have white fur. So I was trying to go with that. And with her hair, she actually has these lock designs. I end up doing braided, I think, just because I think more of the braided hairs that I had gave off the feel that I was trying to have for her. And though obviously in the tabaxi form, her hair would probably most likely be the same color as her fur, because she is a tabaxi. To get some more of that purple color that I was wanting to show off of her as being like attached to her, I do give her, in sim form, light purple hair. But to give you a little bit of her background other than what her class and subclass is and like her race, her little village that she comes from, they're constantly on the move, but they stay in a pretty like gridded area. They don't go off from there too much. They don't tend to really venture out, and they're always close together. Everyone has like their particular roles and stuff like that. Her like name for her clan, like her group of people, is Sunchild, but she gives herself the name Eifie after she leaves, just because she doesn't want to go by Sunchild all the time. So Eifie is the name she prefers to go by. Sunchild is the name that her clan refers to her as. So that is how I got her and her first and last name. It's basically her name and her name, like just regular name. She doesn't have a last name. just Eifie or Sunchild. But they're not normally said together. But she was sort of like, she's a pretty serious type person, how I imagine her. I really want Myron to try to be like really close friends with her, because their two personalities just are like almost polar opposites, and I like the whole polar opposites being friends thing. But with her, she is more serious. She is more like thinking of, and she was tired. Like she doesn't mind adventuring, but doing like they stayed in the same small area. They stayed to their olden ways and stuff like that, and she wanted to learn. She really wanted to be able to use her brain basically more. She wanted to learn new things, learn new ways to do stuff, and like actually expand her knowledge in general. So she constantly is trying to sneak away and try to learn stuff, and eventually one time when she sneaks away, she actually starts hearing this voice off in the distance. And she keeps following this voice until finally it starts getting louder, and it leads her into a cave, and this is where she comes across the necklace that is attached to her patron, and the patron basically gives her the whole speech of like, I can give you abilities and powers that will allow you to be able to go out on your own and travel and move, and like, but I also need your help in return and all that stuff and such on. And so she obviously takes this voice up on its offer and places the necklace on herself, and then gets her powers and abilities. But in the meantime, while she was on this little adventure, she didn't realize how long it had taken, and while she was in this sort of cave thing, actually quite a bit of time had passed, and the group of travelers, which is the previous characters, Eva, from Eva to Myron, had come into her village, and basically the village elders had asked them to, if you're on your travels and you see a white tabaxi out there and her name is Sunchild. Please tell her that we are looking for her. But ultimately, when she comes back, she actually tells them, like, hey, I'm not staying, I'm going, I'm leaving, I'm going with these people. For now, anyway, as long as they don't drive me insane. So she leaves the clan and goes out and adventures because she's got these new powers, and no one is convincing her otherwise that she is staying in the clan. So some of them try to convince her to stay, but then after a while everyone realizes it's basically a lost cause. She is not staying. She is going, she's doing what she pleases, so let her be. So now I'll bring her over into the Sims world. As you can see, I did make her a spellcaster. There's a few of them that I feel like that I've already made by now. I'm not going to get into too big details because of I haven't actually made them yet, but I feel like I should have made a few other ones initially spellcasters. But I'm trying to remember that in some cases because some of them are just supposed to be naturally magic, but with the whole warlock thing and that, like, becoming a big part of her, I wanted her to be a spellcaster, and I also thought since, you know, she's trying to gain knowledge, she's trying to learn more, and now she's got this magical ability, she's obviously going to be wanting to learn more about magical abilities and things like that. So I did give her the spellcraft and sorcery aspiration. Now, obviously, I'm not really going to be controlling these characters too much when I put them into the house, because, you know, this whole series and the build series that is going alongside this is leading up to a little mini-series of me basically seeing what happens when I put all these characters into the same household together, and I'm basically going to see how relationships form, how the Sims interact with each other, and now that there's likes and dislikes, I'm hoping, you know, that influences them quite a bit. Obviously, it doesn't influence, likes and dislikes doesn't make as big of an impact as a lot of people wish, but we'll see how it goes when you put like 30-some characters together, and you know, their traits and things like that, and how that all forms, see how things develop. I also am intrigued to see if maybe they just naturally end up doing some of the whims on their own, so like I'll see how much of their satisfaction points they have at the end, and seeing if maybe they do anything with their aspiration out on their own, because that would be interesting if they actually was to complete even like one or two things of their aspiration on their own without me controlling it, just because, you know, I've tried to set it up to that their aspiration makes sense with everything, with a lot of the other stuff. But anyway, we'll see how that goes. As far as her traits, again, like in previous ones, I am hoping to use this specific mod that allows me to give them 5 traits, because obviously the more traits I give them, the more accurate to the personality that I envision them. Also, the more personality that they will have interacting in this household. So I have wrote down the 5 traits I want for them to have, and then obviously there's 3 that I focus on a little bit more, just in case that mod isn't working when I go to do this little mini series. For her, I want her to have the genius, perfectionist, cat lover, ambitious, and erratic trait. So the erratic one doesn't necessarily fit her personality fully, but the reason why I want to potentially give her the erratic one is because I want to imagine, like, when they can do the talk to yourself thing, it's actually her talking to her patron. So that's why I would like to give that one to her, but I did set it off as one of the potential traits later on down the road versus the actual main traits. The main traits is genius, perfectionist, and cat lover. The cat lover one is a nod to the fact that she is supposed to be a tabaxi. She is a cat person. She should like cats. Even if she gets annoyed with her clan from time to time, she doesn't not like them. She would be more... Cats would probably understand and relate to her more, so I felt like I had to give her the cat lover trait, and it had to be one of the main ones. But yeah, I absolutely love how she turned out. I'm really happy with how Eifie looks. I hope that you really like how she looks as well. Let me know your thoughts on her down in the comments below. Do you like how she looks? Do you like her backstory? How you feel about it? Definitely let me know anything that you want to mention down in the comments below. I'll hopefully see you in the next one. Hit that lovely like, subscribe, you know all that lovely YouTube goodiness. And I'll hopefully see you in the next one. But until then, bye bye!